Hello again, and welcome back to the next episode in the series Getting Funky with Flow, a result type for C# developers. Today we're diving into exception handling, but not the usual try-catch mess. Instead, we'll look at how Flow lets you deal with exceptions in a cleaner, more composable way, one that might surprise you as it did me when I first discovered it. I now use this approach regularly at the edges of my application, whether I'm using Flow or not, because it leads to simpler, less cluttered code. Now I'll be honest, today's demo is a little light. Exception handling is a tricky topic to simplify without drifting into either boring or over complex territory. But bear with me, in upcoming episodes we'll get into richer examples with client-server interactions where Flow really starts to shine. So what are we covering? We'll walk through two small scenarios that involve reading JSON files from disk and deserializing them into a registration record. In scenario 1, we try to read a potentially bad or missing file, and if it fails we fall back to another file. But instead of wrapping everything in try-catch blocks, we do it in a more functional way using the methods TryToFlow and OnFailureTry. Scenario 2, we again process a file, and if it's successful we pretend to send an email. This might fail, so we'll wrap it in an OnSuccessTry. Let's jump into the code. On line 30 we use a helper method that randomly returns true or false. This picks between two paths. One points to a broken JSON file, the other is just an invalid path. Both will trigger exceptions. On line 32 we use the utility class flow handler and its TryToFlow method, as we are not yet in a flow. This is where things get interesting. Rather than placing a try-catch inside your method, you pass your method into a try-catch. Think of it as flipping the problem on its head. This lets you reuse centralized dedicated exception handling methods for specific areas of concern, such as processing files or communicating with a database, etc. We pass in the method to run, the process.json file method, and an exception handler. In this instance, the JSON file exception handler method on line 58 that we designed to handle file system and JSON processing exceptions. Our handler knows how to translate these exceptions into Flow failures. If you scroll down to line 78, you'll see a comment that shows an example of Flow try methods, so you can see how these types of method work. It simply wraps a function in a try-catch, catches any exceptions and uses the provided handler to turn the exception into a failure result. Now back to our pipeline. After the first file read attempt, we use onFailure to log the error. Then we chain OnFailureTry to attempt reading a backup file, and in case of failures, again wrapped in try-catch logic. We end with onFailure and onSuccess methods just to log what happened. In scenario 2, we process a known good file, which gives us a flow of registration. I didn't wrap this with a try, even though in the wild it could throw. I just wanted a flow to begin with for the scenario without using the flow handler. We then call sendEmail wrapped in OnSuccessTry, one of Flow's extension methods, because we know this could throw too. This time, instead of a named method, we use a simple lambda that says, if there's an exception, wrap the message in a messaging failure. In reality, we would have used a dedicated handler that knows about SMPT, POP3 and IMAP exceptions. The sendEmail method itself uses cause random failure, so there's a 50-50 chance it could throw an exception. Once again, we finish the pipeline with onSuccess and onFailure to log the result. One quick note about the demo. As I haven't changed Visual Studio's default exception settings, if I run this under the debugger, given we are referencing Flow in a NuGet, it will pause on any exception, even though they're handled by Flow, and as such I would need to press the continue button. To avoid this, I'll just run the app without debugging. If the code doesn't do what it's supposed to do, the app will crash. Let's run it and see what happens. I'll repeat this a couple of times just so you can see successes and failures being printed out. But needless to say, the code is doing exactly what it's meant to do. Only a short demo, but a lot to digest, so I think we'll wrap it up for today. Just to recap, the TryToFlow and onTry type methods let you integrate exception handling in a more functional, declarative way. You separate what you want to do from how the exceptions are handled. This makes your pipelines more readable, testable and reusable, especially at application boundaries like file I/O, APIs or external services. In the next video, we'll dive into more real-world use cases where these concepts really start to shine. I think that wraps it up for today, and as always, feel free to leave good or bad comments and I'll do my best to answer any questions that come up. If you found this video or the source code helpful, please consider liking and subscribing, as it really helps the channel to grow. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye for now.